On today's show, the San Diego Padres get absolutely obliterated by the New York Mets, but more importantly, why Michael King's performance could be something that portends of a first-round exit in these upcoming playoffs.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Wednesday, September 17th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team for nearly six years. I almost said 16. 6 years now, not just for this podcast, but various other outlets, including justbaseball.com, chief among them. Today's episode, guys, is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Today's show, guys, we are going to be doing a whole lot, let me tell you, but go check out Game Time and go check out the socials at Javapeno on Twitter /X and Blue Sky, JAVIIPENO. Although I am taking a break from social media for now, check out the YouTube listeners and viewers. Leave comments in the comments section and have them potentially answered on today's show. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about last night's game and mainly about Michael King. I think Michael King, we really have, it's an emergency pod today. I'm hitting the DEFCON 4, 1, DEFCON 2, whatever's the one that's almost 1. Whatever the one is almost the worst, that's the one that I'm hitting right now. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Jackson Merrill's late season surge, a couple other fun topics, and even a little fun, silly rant to end on a positive note that I have regarding baseball uniforms. But first, let's get into the game. Again, not much to talk about in the positive, right? The Padres actually get to Clay Holmes in this game. It was going to be a pitching matchup that was really interesting. We talked about this on Tuesday. But guess what happens? Clay Holmes, he goes 4 innings, only gives up 2 earned runs. Michael King gets absolutely demolished in this game. I mean, absolutely demolished. 3 innings, 8 earned runs on 10 hits with 0 walks and 2 Ks. By far the worst start of his season, and dare I say the worst start of his entire tenure. I'm looking at the 2024 season log right now, and I don't see nearly as bad. The worst one that I see in 2024 was the 6 run game, 6 run, when he gave up 6 runs, I can't say that for some reason, in 5 1/3 against the Phillies. Other than that, he did not have a start nearly this bad. In 2025, maybe his opening day start when he only goes 2 2/3 against the Braves, right? But overall, this is probably the worst start that Michael King has had as a Padre. A start that is going to raise his ERA much higher than it was before, right? Like, that's the funny part about all this, is this is a dude who, had a 2.87. But now following this start, it's going to spike tremendously. And he was just getting demolished. I mean, to start the game in the bottom of the first inning, 5-0 already for the Mets. Brandon Nimmo gets a single, Jeff McNeil gets a double, and then Brett Beatty has a 2-run home run. So it wasn't just like a couple home runs or anything like that. It was just giving up hit after hit. The Mets hit him for 10 hits, like I said. And then in the bottom of the second inning, that's not all, a Francisco Lindor home run, and then a Pete Alonso home run. Shout out to Francisco Lindor, Puerto Rican king, of course. We love him on this show. Cedric Mullins also gets a home run in this game. Just really, really rough. And I talked about on yesterday's show, when I was talking about the game recaps, and there was a couple comments that I received that were like, dude, he only gave up 2 runs in his last start. But this is why I like looking at some of the other underlying stats. In that first start that he had coming back from the IL, which was a good point, right? It was his first start coming back from the IL, no reason to completely kill the guy, but there were some concerns. The fact that he was giving up some really hard contact, he gave up those 2 home runs in his last start, and he also almost gave up a third, if not for the heroics of Fernando Tatis Jr., right? It's just become his bit. It's become his thing to just be on SportsCenter Top 10, robbing players of home runs. So maybe he's not going to be underrated anymore. Maybe everyone's just going to be like, wow, that guy's an incredible defender. Like, this is unbelievable. And for what it's worth, by the way, Tatis 0 for 4 in this game. The Padres offense didn't do as much as we would like, although we'll talk more about them in a second. This was really bad. And the reason this is bad is because, and I uploaded a short onto YouTube today, or I should say last night, where I kind of summarized this very quickly. So if you saw that already, you're about to hear the same thing. Just a word of advice. This team, as currently constructed, feels like a team that basically only has one starter that you can trust, and that's Nick Pivetta, who will be pitching in tomorrow's game, right? Shout out to him, or today's game, whenever you're listening to this, against David Peterson, so that should be good. but they basically only have one super trustworthy starter. Then you have Randy Vasquez, who is probably the second most trustworthy starter on the team, especially lately, because he's had some really good runs as of late. Had that 6-inning, 8-strikeout outing the other day, and also went 6 previously before that. But he also has really tough peripherals where he's not getting a lot of strikeouts. So if you go up against a really good offense, or just frankly, if you're just in a postseason start, will he be able to be that guy for you? I don't think so, and I don't think they're going to use him as such. But you look at this team now and you're like, do you trust Darvish? I don't. Darvish, maybe he turns it on for the playoffs. That's totally possible, especially considering he did do it last year. He'd been in the regular season, and then he made some appearances in the playoffs and was not the reason that the Padres blew that series against the Dodgers, right? He was really good, actually, in that Game 7 start. And, for all the marbles, he showed up. And then you've got Michael King, who just got back from the IL for the second time and has been giving up a lot of hard contact stuff and is looking like a guy who is still figuring things out the way that he looked like at the beginning of last year. And even the beginning of last year wasn't as bad as the start that he had last night. Then you've got Dylan Cease, who's Russian roulette every time he's out there. You're like, yeah, cool. He's definitely going to have like 5 strikeouts through 2 innings. He just tends to do that, right? Like he's going to get those strikeouts through 2-3 innings. But then he kind of completely blows it apart, so it doesn't even matter that he has all those strikeouts. And then you've got guys like JP Sears and Nestor Cortez, who you can't trust that much either. And while I do think that those guys were mostly acquired just to have depth for the end of your rotation to get you through this part of the season and get you into the playoffs, we're looking at some tough times, man. This is really, really concerning. Like, I just don't know, especially for a team that's set to play the Chicago Cubs if the playoffs were to begin today. And the Chicago Cubs, for people who don't know, they have a pretty good offense over there in Chicago, right? Like, this is a team that basically, yes, they lost some, they don't have necessarily the most intimidating starting pitching in the world, but they've got guys who at least have carried the boat for them, right? They've been okay in that regard. But when it comes to this offense, I look at what they have on this team, and don't get me wrong, they did slow down a bit from the beginning of the season, but they're 8th in runs scored, 8th in home runs, 11th in on-base percentage, 7th in slugging, 13th in batting average. You look at that team, and you're like, Nico Horner is one of their lower tier players. Like, that guy has a 299 average. He's got a 340 on base. He's doing okay. Dansby Swanson is like, maybe he could have a playoff moment or two, but then Pete Armstrong with the home runs, Seiya Suzuki, Kyle Tucker's still on that team. That's a team that if the Padres were to face them, which they are currently set to in the playoffs, that could get really concerning because I just don't know who on this rotation they can trust. The bullpen's great. Don't get me wrong. And that may carry them to a first-round victory. But right now, what I'm looking at is if the Padres don't have another ace start from Nick Pivetta, which could totally happen, which is probably more likely than not, you're looking at a team that's going to head into Game 2 and be like, this could be it. We might be going home simply because we cannot trust any of our starters. But folks, it's not going to be all dour on today's show. But before we get into all the positives, potential positives, we got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right actually means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 friggin' seconds. So if you want to do a little discount this week, Patrick Mahomes over under, on passing yards, you want to do that? You can maybe do that. You know what I mean? Everybody's starting to be out on him all of a sudden because we have goldfish memory and nobody remembers how good Patrick Mahomes is anymore just because they're 0-2. Whatever. But check it out, guys. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Be sure to go and check that out. And be sure to go and check out another sponsor, guys. That's our friends over at Monarch Money. We love Monarch Money on this show. You know why? Because managing your finances, it's pretty tough. Most people can't even name their financial accounts or what they're worth, whether it's 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why Monarch Money is here, to help you out. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting it all off, if you've been saying, whatever, I don't care, well, Monarch, it's going to do the heavy lifting for you, most importantly. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of all your spending, find out surprising new insights about your spending, and finally feel in control of your money. And you don't even have to touch a spreadsheet. It's great. And with maximizing investments, increasing your savings rate, and easily reviewing finances with your partner and or financial advisor. Keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term, etc. Monarch is the place to go. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's right. Big discount for you guys. That's 50% off your first year at Monarch Money, MONARCH money.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Go check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are thriving and vibing back here on the Locked On Padres podcast. Hope you all are doing well. It's actually funny. I was thinking and very close. I ended up not going to last night's game. I had the opportunity to go. I ended up not going. And it looks like I chose the game not to go to. Maybe I'll go tonight or Wednesday's game. I'll see. A little bit unlikely, but nonetheless, the Padres really didn't give any reason for them to show up, right? We talked about Michael King in the first segment. And again, with the starting pitching thing, since August 1st, so I'm going back to just before, right after the trade deadline, right? When they lose Berger, when they lose Kolek, when all the stuff happens, right? When they make all their moves, the Padres, in terms of starting pitching ERA, are 16th in Major League Baseball, 4.21, which maybe isn't as bad as maybe you would think, given how bad they've been over the last few days, or last few weeks, frankly. But still, for a playoff team, and for a team that, you know, is really close there with the Dodgers, that's not a good sign, right? You look at the teams that are above them. The Chicago Cubs, 3.36 ERA. They have the third best starting pitching ERA since August 1st, right? And that's the team they may face in the playoffs. So I look at that and I'm like, what exactly are the Padres better at the Cubs then? They've had some more experience of late, and then I guess they got a better bullpen. But it's like, is that going to matter if you can't get out of the third inning? It might not, right? And more importantly than ERA is innings pitched. This has been killing them. In terms of innings pitched, there's only, let's see here, the Padres have the eighth fewest, innings pitched from their starters since August 1st. The only teams worse, the Colorado Rockies, the Oakland A's, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Chicago White Sox, the San Francisco Giants, the Tampa Bay Rays, okay, finally someone that doesn't have a horrid reputation as of late, then the Los Angeles Angels. Do those sound like teams you want to be in the same categorization with? Not really, right? So this is a huge concern. Yes, I think that they're going to get over the finish line. I really do think that they've got that second wild card at worst, right? Maybe if something horrible happens that the Dodgers lose out and then the Padres can come back and take the division. They still do have a nice series against the White Sox, right? But that series against the D-backs is going to get a little bit tougher because the D-backs all of a sudden might steal this spot from the Mets. So we'll have to see. What I'm seeing right now is genuinely a team that might lose first round. That's what I'm seeing. And don't get me wrong. Like, you can't control that. There are teams that have been good before that have lost the first round that look better. Look at the Brewers that everybody slurps every single year, and then they lose first round like they did last year to the Mets. Shout out that Pete Alonso crazy home run, right? But overall, this is the biggest concern for the Padres. Other things from the game it is worth talking about. Jackson Merrill hit a home run. Very cool. Jake Cronenworth hit a home run, and Freddie Fermin hit a home run. First of all, Fermin, just really cool that he seems to finally be like hitting a little bit better lately, being not a total minus at the plate, right? He had that 2-hit game against the Rockies. He actually had a 2-hit game against the Orioles as well. He's had a couple RBIs. Like, he's been okay, right? Like, he's at least back to being what I think you were expecting out of him, which is a guy that's not a total minus at the plate. So that's very good. And of course, a pretty decent, solid, a little bit above average defensive catcher too in a lot of ways, who's still adjusting to some of the starting pitching, but even still, not enough, obviously, tonight. But Kyle Hart, 2 innings, no runs, 5 Ks, just nice to see. Right, nice to see that from him. Nice to see from Yuki Matsui get out of there. Bradley Rodriguez, who was a prospect for the Padres coming into the season, he has come up and made 2 little appearances and been okay. 3 appearances now. He's been okay. I'm just saying keep an eye on him, especially with the absence now of Jason Adam. This guy could be the future and could be the new guy in exchange for Jason Adam next season, or especially in the playoffs. Maybe not the playoffs, but still at least through the rest of the season. Jake Cronenworth, my postcast guy. Go check him out. He's always killing Big Jim, but everybody leave comments telling him he's absolutely crazy to be thinking that Jake Cronenworth is the bad player between him and Arise. Jake Cronenworth with a home run in this game. He has just been the definition of solid little ball player, role player for a long time now. Top 10 in pitches per plate appearance. He walks a lot. He has the highest on-base percentage of the team, I believe, over the last month and a half, since aside from Fernando Tatis Jr. He's good. And lastly, Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill, heading into last night's game since September 5th, right, which was his last 10 games, he was slashing 289 with a 325 on base, but a 763 slugging, 195 WRC plus. The hits and power are coming, right? So don't get me wrong. Don't love the walk rate. Don't love that he's striking out a lot still, but I like that he's been a little bit more aggressive and he's slugging the ball more, right? He's got 2 doubles over this time frame, and he's got 4 home runs over this time frame. Now he's got 5, so he's been really heating up. If Jackson Merrill is back to being what he is, you could end up seeing maybe Mike Schilt put him in that 2-hole, which has been a big question for the Padres. We talked about yesterday that I think it should be O'Hearn, but O'Hearn doesn't have a lot of experience there. Some people think it should be Reyes, but Reyes is one of the least productive number 2 hitters in literally the entire sport. Like one of the 5 or 6 worst ones, right? So we'll have to see, but it's just a nice little sign, I think, for the Padres. Can he, have this late season surge? It's possible. Right? It's possible. And that would be a big plus for the Padres heading into the playoffs. And then you just got to hope that maybe Arias turns it on. You still got Tatis. You still hopefully have Manny. He could put on a nice final month of the season. That would be great. But again, it's hard to avoid. Last night just felt, maybe this is a microcosm thing, right? Or maybe it's just me looking way too much into just one game. But to me, what I saw is this is the greatest fear for this Padres team. Facing a team above 500, a decent team with a pretty good lineup, some pretty big hitters in this team, that they're going to get crushed. And their offense isn't good enough to keep up pace unless they have a Nick Pivetta who can go 5-6 innings, shut down the team, and then they have their bullpen shut down the rest. What if they can't do that? Because right now they only have Pivetta among starting pitchers that they can really, really trust, right? And losing Ryan Berger and Steven Kolek, while I don't know if those are going to be playoff superstars or anything, did hurt this team's depth. So again, 8th fewest innings pitched since August 1st among starting pitchers, 16th worst ERA. Just not great amongst the starting pitching. It's kind of canceling out the bullpen in a lot of ways. So hopefully they can bounce back in game 2, get a good start out of our man, nasty Nick Pivetta. And thankfully they didn't have to use any of their ace bullpen guys because Kyle Hart did not get lit up or anything like that. They got stuff out of Yuki. They got stuff out of Bradley Rodriguez. But overall, this is it's a concern. And I'd love to know what you guys think. Leave a comment in the comment section on YouTube if you'd like to potentially get featured on the show, just like another person will be featured on the show in just 1 second. But first, I need to talk to you guys about one of my favorite sponsors for this show, and that is the Game Time, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what I love about them. There's nothing, and I mean nothing. Well, almost nothing. Me personally, I like watching video game press conferences. I like watching football a little bit. But let me tell you, baseball games live, like at the stadium, some of the best out there. And let me tell you, getting tickets, not as fun. It can be really frustrating, right? Like the queues, the login screen, surprise fees, whatever it is. It just kind of takes the fun out of it. You hate when you buy the ticket and all of a sudden it costs $60 more. Hyperbole, but you get my point. And that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. It just makes it super simple. You can even see the exact view of your seat before buying, which is great. You're going to know your total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. They've got zone deals. You pick the section. Game Time picks the seats. So yeah, picks the sit, picks where you'll be sitting. You know what I mean? That was so lame. But with that, they help you save big. It's great. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way. I personally bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Download Game Time today. And just like that, everybody, we are back here thriving and vibing into the final section of this here podcast. And here's the thing. We've been really negative. Well, not negative. We've been very critical, I think. I don't even think like in a mean way. We've just been talking on the show and being like, you know what? This team, there's a lot of concerns. That is kind of the worst case scenario for this Padres team. I think that you saw last night. And that's why I use the word pretend, because I think that it could be a sign of what could happen in the future. And again, leave any comments in the comment description. I keep saying comment description, comment section. It's just a tiny little thing that's bothering me. I don't know what to say. But they've got Nick Pivetta going on Tuesday, today, tonight, whenever you're watching the show. So hopefully they can bounce back. Let's talk about a couple things though real quick. Number one, is a little bit of a comment that we got just from a few weeks back that I thought I just figured I'd read because I said I'd read all your questions. Expansion question at Micklow L4899 says, is the expansion in preparation for other franchises about to fold? Given the number of owners who don't care about the impending lockout, I predict a large chunk of fan bases do not return or to simply stop caring. So I don't know fully what you're talking about here exactly, my man Mick, but here's what I will say. Bringing up the lockout again, I kind of like bringing this up on every show lately just because I just, based on that Harper story, right, for those who don't know, Bryce Harper got into the face of Rob Manfred and yelled at him, apparently, and got really upset when salary cap started being brought up. I just think that, again, my take is still the same. I think the players were not really good in lockstep last time. I thought that it was very clear that with players like Max Scherzer, players like Francisco Lindor, some of the more vocal union leaders saying we shouldn't take a deal yet. You had even Jeff Passan talk about how players reached out and he was like, don't take this deal yet. And they kind of forced through it. And it was like, why are we doing this? I get it. You guys want to return back. But I was looking at fans like, guys, this is nice. It's great that baseball's back. But like, why are you crying? You missed like 2 weeks of spring training. I'll never forget that. Guys, this is a real thing that happened. Everybody was crying. I'm not talking about people who work concession stands, work in baseball. I'm talking about just fans who watch. Everyone was crying, acting like they had something stolen from them. It was spring training games. Like, relax. I know that we're sickos out here, but like, it's spring training. I just can't believe that. And as a result, you might have that come back to bite you this year. I agree with the what you're saying, though, is that I just think that the baseball as a sport is in a really tough spot where, yes, thankfully, the randomness of it could prop up a random team every now and then that does do good every couple years, right? You even had the Marlins a couple years back make the playoffs. You have this year the Tigers being really, really great after being bad for so long. You can have teams that have had disinterested, jilted fan bases come back, but I do worry about potentially losing fan bases as time goes along, especially because you've got teams like Cleveland, who has one of the worst richest owners in sports, who's also the worst owner because he didn't spend any money. So teams are like, well, this is great. This is awesome. We were in the ALCS last year and all we did was give away players. Yeah, it's a messed up sport. What can I say? But again, warning, guys, I think these CBAs, I think we're missing regular season games this time. I really do. Unless something changes dramatically over the next coming months. We'll have to see. But next comment I want to talk about really quickly is that my man Big Jim, if you guys have been watching the postcast, which you should be, that way you know what I'm talking about, he went and talked about how he doesn't like that the manager, like when they're wearing the like full uniform thing, and like Mike Schilt does that, he says it looks dorky and like dumb and silly, and I kind of almost agree. There is something about the manager, like I don't mind like the team hoodie thing, right? Like a little bit different. But when they're wearing the jersey as if they're a player on the field, I kind of get it. It looks a little bit dorky, and I know that Schilt does that, but maybe it's just a little bit of solidarity thing, right? Like maybe Mike Schilt just loves standing by his guys with something that we know, right? Like he just doesn't throw his guys under the bus. He barely even criticizes his players, which, by the way, totally fine with, right? Especially since they've had some struggles over the past few years with, Jace Tingler era, with the Bob Melvin era, guys that I don't think were necessarily awful. But one thing that they had was not always the best moments with players, right? I think Bob Melvin, the most infamous one, probably Josh Hader, right? And then you've got Jace Tingler, who I think knew after the fact that he might have messed up a little bit, but he did criticize Tatis after the 3-0 swing a little bit. Again, he amended it afterwards, but that was the thing. And you look at Mike Schilt. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic. I kind of like that point. I think it's really funny. What I want to end in is this. My rant on uniforms. I repeat, I hate when the home uniform in sports is the white uniform. And no, I'm not doing some race thing. What I'm saying is this. The white variant of your uniform, with some exceptions, right? Like you've got the Padres do have some little bit of stripes, and then you've got the Yankees with the pinstripes, which are famous. But for the most part, why is it that every team has a white variant of their uniform, and that's your home uniform? Here's my issue. Stick with me. Shouldn't it be the uniform that's more unique to you? Everyone has a white version of their uniform where it's just all white and then the name of the team across the middle in whatever format, right? And then you just kind of go from there. Right? But it's similar. It's the blueprint is the same. Like, what is this, a Marvel movie? Yeah, it's different characters, right? But there's no authorship. There isn't like, wow, someone really designed this. So I hate that the white uniform is the one that you wear at home. Shouldn't the home uniform be the really like interesting kind of unique one. It should be when you wear your colors, right? Why is it that the Mets, like when they're wearing their blue uniforms, like that should be their home uniform, the solid colors, what brings out and what makes your team special. The white uniform should be what you wear away, because this is what every team has. Every team that's facing away should have the away uniform. And I know that sometimes it changes, right? I understand that. I'm not trying to be a total, jerk and just hate on something to hate on something. But I've noticed this in sports sometimes. It happens in football every now and then too. It happens in the NBA, right? Like, I can't stand when the white uniform is the home uniform, because it's not the unique one, right? It's not the unique one. You should be different. Do not be the MCU where you just use excuses and you're like, no. Like, but it's different this time because it's that. And I understand some home uniforms have a little bit of a stripe and makes it look better. But all in all, what I see is just frustration, folks. You know what I mean? I just see a lot of annoyance whenever I see this stuff pop up, at least with myself, right? So that's my rant of the day. Take it or leave it, whatever you want. But for me, bring on the uniqueness, man. And look, I'm very liberal with uniforms. I'm someone who likes the Pittsburgh Steelers whatever they're called uniforms. Those honeybee, the bumblebee uniforms. I like them. You know why? Because they're unique and it's a long season. Now football's a little bit different, but in baseball, I remember how all y'all be complaining about some of these players' weekend jerseys, or I should say the City Connects, right? And I'm like, guys, it's like Fridays and that's it. What are we doing? I don't understand it. It's been a thing of mine for a while. Spread this everywhere if you want to. Roast me in the comments. I don't care. But the home uniform should be not what we saw last night. It should be that you have your solid blue, or in the case with the Mets, maybe they're black colors, and sometimes they do that. But overall, I hate that it's not the standard, usually. And I feel like I notice that more with the NBA and MLB, at least in my experience. So that's just me. It should be a rule. If I am ever named president, not ever, when I am elected president of this fine nation, that will be the first law I pass. I promise you. Everyone will thank me as soon as it happens. Maybe I'll get some criticism, but in the future, you will thank me. You will all thank me later. I'm telling you right now. But with that all being said, guys, that about does it for the Locked On Padres podcast, the only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Tomorrow we're going to be recapping the start with Nick Pivetta. And then there's a chance that Thursday's episode I wait to upload because it is a 1 o'clock game. So we'll see. I don't know, because since it's an early game for me, it's easy to record today's show. Right, like I'll be able to record right after the game, but we'll see. Just keep that keep that in the back of your mind for whatever you're traveling, whatever your commute thing, however you listen to this or watch this show. Just keep it in mind. And we still are trying to have a guest for Fun Friday because we want to keep that streak going. But until that next time, stay safe and of course stay faithful, my Friar Faithful homies. Take care.